In a question where we are required to combine ratios, we will always be given two ratios that have a common variable, and we will have to combine them into a final ratio in order to solve the question. So in this question, we are told that in a fruit salad, the ratio of apples to oranges is 3:2, and the ratio of oranges to bananas is 4:5. What is the combined ratio of apples to oranges to bananas? As we can see, we have been given the ratio of apples to oranges as our first ratio, and the second ratio we have been given is the ratio of oranges to bananas. In both ratios, we have a common variable, which is the oranges. Now, in order to combine them, we can first write down the letters representing the variables. So we can write an A for apples, to O for oranges, and a B for bananas. We can begin by writing the first ratio, which is of apples to oranges, 3:2. And the second ratio is oranges to bananas. So we will put the 4 under the O for oranges and the 5 under the B for the bananas. Now, as we can see, the common ratio that we have is that of the oranges, which is 2 and 4. Now, 2 and 4 are different numbers. If they were the same number, we could simply combine these ratios as they are and write them down. However, because these numbers are different, we now have to find a common multiple of 2 and 4. I'm going to go with the lowest common multiple, which is 4. And all we now have to do is rewrite these individual ratios by making the part of the orange equivalent to 4. So with the first ratio, we need to look at what we have done to the 2 in order to make it 4, and we have multiplied it by 2. We therefore have to multiply the 3 by 2 as well to make it 6. In the second ratio, we've done nothing to our 4, we've kept it the same, and we would therefore also keep the 5 the same. We now have the combined ratio of apples to oranges to bananas, which is 6:4:5. So in this question, we are told, in a bookshelf, the ratio of fiction books to non-fiction books is 5:3, and the ratio of non-fiction books to reference books is 5:7. What is the combined ratio of fiction books to non-fiction books to reference books? So first, we can start writing the F for fiction, NF for non-fiction, and R for reference books. The first ratio that we have been given is fiction books to non-fiction books, so we can write that under the F for fiction and NF for non-fiction, 5:3. The second ratio that we have been given is the non-fiction books to the reference books, which is 5:7. So underneath that, we can write the second ratio, which is 5:7. In both these ratios, we have a common variable of non-fiction, which is 3 in the first ratio and 5 in the second ratio. In order to combine this, we have to find the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5, which is 15. And we now just need to make both these ratios equivalent such that the component of non-fiction is equal to 15. So in the first ratio, we have multiplied 3 by 5 in order to make it 15. So we have to do the same thing to our 5. 5 times 5 is 25. In the second ratio, we have multiplied our 5 by 3 in order to make it 15. So we have to do the same to our 7, which makes it 21. We now have the combined ratio of fiction books to non-fiction books to reference books, which is 25:15:21. In this question, we are told that in a classroom, the ratio of boys to girls is 4:5, and the ratio of girls to teachers is 7:2. What is the combined ratio of boys to girls to teachers? So in order to find the combined ratio, we can first write B for boys, G for girls, and T for teachers. Using the first ratio that's been given to us, which is boys to girls, we can write that down under B for boys as 4 and 5 for girls. The second ratio that we've been given is girls to teachers. So on the next line, we can write that ratio 7 under the G for girls and 2 under the T for teachers. So the common ratio that we have in both the given ratios is that of the girls. And because these numbers are not the same, we need to look for a common multiple of 5 and 7. We can go for 35, which is the lowest common multiple of 5 and 7. So now we need to make the 5 and 7 in both the ratios equivalent to 35. So we need to check what we did to the 5 in the first ratio in order to make it 35. And we have multiplied it by 7. Therefore, we need to multiply the 4 by 7 as well, which gives us 28. In the second ratio, we need to check what we have done to 7 to make it into 35. And we have multiplied it by 5. So we therefore need to multiply the 2 by 5 as well, which gives us 10. So we now have the combined ratio of boys to girls to teachers, which is 28 to 35 to 10. So here are some practice questions for you to try. So please feel free to pause the video, have a go independently, and then resume the video to check if you've got the correct answers. So in the first question, we are told that in a bag of marbles, the ratio of red to blue marbles is 3 to 5, and the ratio of red to green marbles is 4 to 7. What is the combined ratio of red to blue to green marbles? So first, we can write an R to represent red, a B for blue, and G for green marbles. Using the first ratio that we have been given for red to blue, we can write that under red 3 and 5 for blue. Using the second ratio that we've been given, the red to green, we can put that on the next line as 4 for red and 7 for green. As we can see, the common ratio in both of these ratios is that of red, which means we now have to find a common multiple of 3 and 4. So we can use the lowest common multiple, which is 12. And we now need to check what we did to the first ratio to make it into 12. And we have multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12, which means we also have to multiply our 5 by 4, which gives us 20. In the second ratio, in order to make the 4 into 12, we have multiplied it by 3. So we also have to multiply the 7 by 3, which gives us 21. So the combined ratio for red to blue to green marbles is 12 to 20 to 21. For number 2, the question says, the ratio of students who like maths to those who like science in a class is 3 to 5. If the ratio of students who like science to those who like English is 2 to 3, what is the combined ratio of students who like maths to science and English? So first we can write M for maths, S for science, and E for English. Using the first ratio that we've been given, maths to science is 3 to 5, so we can put 3 under the maths and 5 under the science. The second ratio that we've been given is those who like science to those who like English, which is 2 to 3. So on a separate line, we can write 2 for our science and 3 under our English. As we can see, the common ratio that we've got in both these ratios is that of science, which is 5 and 2. So the lowest common multiple of 5 and 2 is 10. So we can put 10 as our combined ratio for science. And in order to find the combined ratio for maths, we need to see what we did to 5 in order to get 10. And we multiplied it by 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. So the combined ratio for maths is 6. In our second ratio, in order to make the 2 into 10, we have multiplied by 5, which means we also have to multiply our 3 by 5, which gives us 15. And this is our combined ratio for the students who like maths, science, and English.